The Agenda on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Hey there, morning all. How are you doing this rainy Monday? We love a rain day here in the UAE. But I'm not just obsessed with the weather. I am talking about news, analysis and comment on the agenda this morning, I promise. We're going to be discussing the first-time buyer scheme that's already got 2,000 residents on Dubai's property ladder in just 6 months as a Dubai property owner. I'm wondering whether I should be signing up for it. We're going to speak to Mohammed Yahya from the Dubai Land Department. He's actually going to talk us through how they're planning to expand the scheme. And if you are thinking of taking the step of buying property, we've got the mortgage broker Joe Phillips in the studio to offer advice. And because new figures just released show that if you live in Dubai, you're apparently losing 35 hours a year to traffic, while in Abu Dhabi it is about 19 hours. That's according to Oliver Wyman. They say congestion is affecting economies around the Middle East, not just here in the UAE, and they've got some ideas of what can be done. We're going to be joined by expert Alessandro Tricamo. He is the man behind this report. He's got lots of ideas of potential solutions. Meanwhile, we'll also find out why Veronica the cow is changing science due to her innovative use of a broom. We've got a pretty fun headline to kick the show off today. It's one of those ones where we like it for two reasons. One, because it's good news. And two, because we covered this story 6 months ago. And we like it when we get a second bite of the cherry. But there's no other way of putting it. We just do. There's a sort of satisfaction to it. And it was about 6 months ago that we covered this first-time home buyer programme when it was launched by the Dubai Land Department and the Dubai Economy of Tourism. And now, 6 months down the road, we have some very good news to report. And that is that more than 2,000 residents have availed themselves of the programme and have bought their very first home. And that is in just 6 months. The scheme has driven 3.25 billion dirhams in residential property sales. So they haven't been buying shoeboxes, these 2,000 people. They've been spending a decent amount of cash. And as a consequence of the sort of the benefit of the scheme, apparently the government is looking to expand the initiative even further. So right now in this interview, I'm hoping to get another newsline out of our guest. And I am delighted to say we're joined by Mohammed Yahya, who is Director of Real Estate Transactions at the Dubai Land Department, making his I think he's been on the agenda a few times now. But Mohammed, it is lovely to have you back with us. How are you this Monday morning?
Good morning, Georgia. How are you? And good morning to the listeners and viewers of Dubai Eye.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you with us. Now, for people who weren't listening 6 months ago, and who knows, there are so many people moving into the country at the moment, there could be thousands of them. What exactly is the first-time home buyer programme and why did you launch it?
Well, the first-time home buyer initiative actually fulfills the D33 agenda of the Dubai. And, the 2026 is the year of family and unity and community. So it works both ways to fulfill this. It's basically a way to make people more stable or bring in more stability to their lives, turning the, let's say, tenants to home owners, and hence the name, the first-time home buyer. It's not actually an investment thing that we're looking for. It's more towards stability, and it's the first-time home buyer, so we're expecting people to buy homes, making it easier.
It's a big number, 2,000 people in just 6 months who have taken that step, because this isn't a step you take lightly. You're having to get a mortgage, you're putting down a lot of money, you're properly putting down roots in the country. What do you think is driving this strong uptake that we've seen?
Again, we're looking at it, it's on a macro level. What we've been successful, the leadership vision and the government stability and the situation, security, safety, affordability as well. We do have a full range of pricing now. This aims for the middle income and the higher income residents of the UAE, and it's basically the main driver. You have the of course the all the products are available, taking it from, I would say, 100 million plus to anything below 1 million. So, and the majority of the real estate sold for those 2,000 first-time home buyers are in the range of 2 million.
Okay. Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. So they're not, they're for 2 million, you can get, is it, I mean, it depends what area you're in, but it's not, like you say, it's not a shoebox. You're managing to probably get 1 or 2 bedrooms for that. How are you qualifying this sort of first time buyer title? I don't own anything in Dubai at the moment, but I do own something in London. So I'm not a first time buyer, but I would be a first time Dubai buyer. Would I qualify?
Of course you would qualify. We want your home to be here rather than London, to be honest, Georgia. And it's the main idea. Everyone who is currently a resident in Dubai and who does not own currently a property in Dubai is qualified to avail this scheme.
So on one level, this is just a sort of a financial program, but on another one, it's almost sort of like social engineering in a good way. And you sort of touched on it there, that, you don't want me to think of London as my home. You want me to think of Dubai as my home. As it happens, I definitely do. But, so beyond the numbers, is this initiative in some ways designed to shape Dubai's long-term social and economic landscape?
Yes, it is indeed. What it does is it opens up and shapes up the economical landscape. So we do have an economical impact when it comes to actually selling the properties. And it's mainly, again, as I mentioned before, it brings in stability to families. Now, what we're aiming for is, rather than thinking of your rent going up or having issues with the landlord or with your property, sometimes you do rent a property and you want to, let's say, renovate, or you want to add certain features that would make it feel more like home for you. A lot of people think twice before doing that because, again, that's not yours. You are here for some time, whether it's a year or 20 years. So we wanted that element for people to have the comfort. And the more owners or residents own real estate or their homes in the city, the more stable their lives become.
You've created this scheme alongside developers and banks as well. What role are they playing in the scheme? What do they bring to the table?
Well, it's a perfect PPP model, public-private partnership. What we did was we brought the developers, the banks together, and the DET is helping us as well promoting this scheme. What happens is first of all, the developers offer the available units before time, ahead of launch, and so you have as an enroller in this program the benefit of seeing the availability ahead of time. You get to book whatever you're interested in ahead of time. You get a certain discount with the developer when paying the Dubai Land Department fees. You have a payment plan with the banks rather than paying the 4% all up front. You can pay it using a credit card, and then it's easy installment plan with no interest. And at the time of the handover, you would be able to avail also a preferential rate when it comes to mortgaging the property.
I mean, sign me up. I mean, genuinely, that does sound brilliant.
I literally can't sign. I can't sign you up, Georgia. Georgia, you have to either use the Dubai Rest app or the website, the Dubai Land Department, and we'll be more than happy to assist.
Okay, now you mentioned that you're planning to expand the program, or at least I've heard rumours from your team that there might be an expansion of the program. So what is coming next? Are we getting more developers, more properties? What's the deal?
Currently, we are signing with we have a list of developers that we are screening. Now, what we're doing is we do not want any developer to be on board on the program. We are very selective when it comes to the type of developers, and they should have their track records. Soon enough, we'll be signing with additional developers, with additional banks as well, to make it more accessible to everyone. And we are looking to expand it to further than the residents. Again, as I mentioned, Georgia, before, we want Dubai to be the home for people. We want them to feel like I can buy something there, I can live there.
Okay, so we're going to expand it past just residents, maybe for people who are, in fact, looking for investment properties, perhaps. Okay, so for any residents listening who are currently renting, what would you say to encourage them to consider registering? People like me.
I would ask them to go back to calculate the rents, whether they're paying 80,000, 70,000, 100,000, and assess what they can afford to buy. And they have to look at what their requirement is. Requirement is very important. We're upgrading our system so that we understand exactly how you would choose your property. Previously, we used to have 1, 2, and 3 or 4 bedrooms without prioritizing. Now, what we're doing is we're upgrading it so that I know your priority, let's say, is 3 bedroom. Your priority is a townhouse. Your priority is Emaar or Damak or Dubai properties. So you can choose 3 of them, but you would have to tell me which one is your preference.
Okay. I mean, it does sound very interesting. Jawad has just got in touch with us here on our messaging saying, I registered 6 months ago, but so far I haven't received details of which properties are available. So it sounds like at the moment you've got a longer list of prospective buyers than you have of properties, which is a great position to be in.
It's actually currently we're standing at more than 40,000 applicants. The number is quite big. And we are looking to expand as much as possible with the developers.
Amazing stuff. Mohammed, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been a great pleasure to catch up with you on the subject of this first time buyer programme. We will be coming back to you for sure. We'd love to find out a little bit more about, as soon as you manage to get those developers on board, we'd love to hear from you. That was the voice there of Mohammed Yahya, who is Director of Real Estate Transactions at the Dubai Land Department. Let's talk about this first-time buyers scheme. Really great to hear just there from Mohammed Yahya, who is from the Dubai Land Department. He gave us a couple of news lines there. One of them was that they've got 40,000 prospective buyers on the list, which explains why Jawad, who's texting in saying he wanted to get involved and he hasn't heard back from them. Well, if you've got 40,000 prospective buyers, it gives you a sense of, just how popular this scheme has been. The other news line that Mohammed gave us is that they are looking to sign more developers and potentially open the scheme not just to residents, but to people living outside the country as well. So a really interesting interview. And it sounds good. I mean, the programme sounds good. The way he pitched it, I was ready to sign up then and there. But what is it actually like for a first-time buyer on the ground who is trying to navigate mortgages, finding the deposit, getting approvals, all of that for possibly the very first time? You don't have to be a first-time buyer to get onto this scheme. You just have to be a first-time buyer in Dubai. Okay, so joining me now is someone in the know. We're going to get advice. If you've got any questions, send them in because we have Joe Phillips, the UAE-based mortgage broker from Phillips and Walls Mortgage Brokers. They do exactly what it says on the tin. Joe, lovely to have you here.
Morning, Georgia. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. I'm interested to find out how many first-time buyers you actually see, because it sounds like if there's 40,000 on the list, then there's, a lot of people out there who want to buy property here.
Yeah, there are 40,000 on the list, but we don't see those because these are primarily towards the developers. So they're obviously on a developer's list. It's when they're released and everything like that. So we don't see that aspect of that. That's part of the Dubai Lands Department aspect.
Yeah.
In terms of secondary market, though, we are seeing so many first-time buyers in the market at the moment. I think gone are the illusion of the days where, like, you and I arrived many years ago and we're all there renting and we're all thinking, right, we're not staying here, it's all transient.
Just a couple of years.
Correct.
Just
5-year plan and
years.
everything like that. And now what's happening is that people are coming in and wanting a mortgage straight away. So I'm seeing a lot of people who have maybe been in their job a month, 2 months, 3 months.
No way.
And then they're going, right, rent's too expensive. How much is the mortgage? We've got money to, release in the UK or in Europe and everything like that. And they're coming straight in the market nowadays.
They're committing that early.
Yeah.
That's a mega step because, I have to say, I knew within 3 days that I wasn't leaving, but that had more to do with, I had 2 very small babies, and that had more to do with the fact that my wonderful nanny, Pin, who I probably shouldn't have named, sorry, Pin, joined us on day 3 and is still with us 11 years later.
Yeah.
She changed my life. Literally changed my life. So it wasn't because I loved, we arrived in September. I wasn't sure I loved Dubai in September. Frankly, I'm not sure anyone really does.
No.
But it's amazing that other people are willing to put their money where their mouth is that early.
Absolutely. And we're seeing a lot of transfers as well. So companies from UK, Europe, they're bringing people over. So I think we're seeing a big shift in demographic of people moving. I'm not sure whether you look at Facebook groups or anything like that, but every other question on the Brits, Facebook posts and everything like that is we're moving to Dubai. And I think what's actually settled things down a little bit more in Dubai now is we've got the golden visa, which before everything was tied to your employer. So I think it put people on edge a little bit that, look, if I lose my job, what's going to happen to the house? Whereas now you've got the golden visa aspect where you can get that for 10 years. So it's more stabilising for clients nowadays.
If you're a first-time buyer, do the banks treat you differently?
No.
They don't?
No, not really.
Not really.
No,
if you've got the cash, you look all right.
If you've got the cash, that's it.
Okay.
There are certain banks that will allow you to put your fees on a credit card or take a personal loan out, which we kind of go, do you know what?
That's where you're overstretching,
Yeah,
isn't
you're
it?
overstretching. If you can't afford a 4% fee or a 2% real estate agent, the odd thing is okay, but, putting that amount of money on a credit card is quite a high commitment,
It really is. So what kind of mortgage rates and deposit requirements are we typically seeing right now in Dubai?
Same as normal. Anything under 5 million is 20%. Allow 7% for fees, which is what I always say. Anything above 5 million is 30%.
So you have to put a deposit of 30% down?
Yes,
plus
correct.
7%
plus
fees?
7% on that as well.
Wow. So, people aren't being allowed to sort of, overstretch, overexpose themselves. No. I remember the days in London once, back before the 2008 financial crash, where you could almost put nothing down and get a mortgage.
And self-cert mortgages, there used to be, and all of that sort of thing. There was one bank in the UK that was doing 125% mortgages.
What, they were giving you money as well as the mortgage? So they were giving you additional
25% as an unsecured loan. So they are very strict here. And one of the things about income as well is that you can't borrow more than 50% of your monthly income either.
Oh, that is strict.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to know about what this programme covers and doesn't cover. 40,000 people on the waiting list. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're waiting?
Well, I think that the list, there's not that many developments at the moment. And bear in mind, as far as what we're aware at the moment, it's not open to the secondary market. So anybody who's wanting to buy in the Springs, Meadows, Arabian Ranches, is not open to that first time buyer scheme. It's only open to specific developments, and specific developers. So anything that's handing over or anything like that, that's more likely to go on the list rather than anybody just searching the market and actually finding a ready property at the moment.
So under the scheme, do you reckon that you can buy something that hasn't been built yet?
There could potentially be things that could be built in a couple of years' time.
Okay.
You can't do it on an off-plan mortgage, though, because with an off-plan mortgage, there's very few developers who are listed with the banks to do off-plan mortgages for a start. Secondly, you have to pay the first 50% up front in cash, and the bank on an off-plan mortgage will only finance based on the payment plan with the final 50%. So if it's a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, then the bank will release the money as is with that. So off-plan wouldn't work on that scheme either. I think it's more to do with buildings that are potentially handing over within the next month, 2 months, 3 months, and then they'll start releasing it like that.
Okay, so, I mean, what advice would you give to someone who, in principle, wants to get involved in this type of programme, or, separate from the programme, wants to be a first-time buyer in Dubai, but isn't quite sure if they're financially ready? What ducks do they need to get in a row? What do they need to be thinking about?
First of all, give us a call.
I mean, you're giving me free advice? That is a fair plug.
Look, we actually do a full-blown, financial fact find of a client. So we will look at their income. We will look at their liabilities. If they are over surplus on their liabilities, we tell them what to do, if required, to bring that, liability down. So we do put a structure in place for them. Secondly, make sure that you're not, spending all of your money on that deposit and the fees. You've got to have a little bit of backup. I always say to clients, have at least 6 months monthly mortgage payments, just in case if something happens with your job, anything like that. You've got to have a little bit. You don't want to be spending the whole amount on a purchase of a property if you've got nothing left.
Oh my goodness, that's quite a cushion. I'm not sure we did that when we bought something.
I mean, that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
You don't want to be living month to month on, just in case.
Yeah.
But that's how I always kind of work, is 6 months, is a good basis. Also watch for hidden costs, because you've got your insurances you've got to look at.
Yeah.
So every bank, insists on life insurance, property insurance. That's on top of your monthly mortgage payment. And then you've got to look at the rate. So not always the lowest rate is the best rate for you in the market. You've got to look at the package overall. Are you able to make additional lump sum payments? What is the revert rate afterwards? What's the processing fee? And if you look at everything, which is where we do the financial analysis and the proposals, then we go through everything from start to finish. So anybody who wants some advice, let me know.
Amazing stuff. Jo Phillips, lovely to have you join us,
Thank you, Georgia.
as always. Thank you for your free advice. Jo is from Phillips and Walls Mortgage Brokers. So fantastic to have you here. Keep those questions coming. Keep those comments coming in. I'm really enthusiastic to hear from you if you are indeed looking to be a first-time buyer. Those numbers, slightly daunting. In some ways, slightly less than I thought, because apparently if you live in Dubai, you're likely to lose 35 hours a year to traffic. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're driving from Dubai up to Sharjah and back again, the other way around, you know what I mean, every single day, I think you're losing about an hour a journey to traffic, and that would be far more than 35 hours. So I'm not quite sure where the numbers come from, but 35 hours a year to traffic in Dubai, and then in Abu Dhabi it's about 19 hours. So yeah, congestion, we know, rising in the UAE, but in fact it is rising across the Middle East, driven by rapid population growth and, of course, more cars on the road. And this new report that's just come out from Oliver Wyman is revealing that global cost of traffic congestion now exceeds $500 billion a year. In many ways it makes sense. We're just wasting time sitting there, aren't we? Unless you're listening to the radio, in which, of course, it's not a waste of time. But yeah, more importantly, the report also lays out real solutions that could help cities like Abu Dhabi, like Dubai, and of course other big cities like Riyadh tackle the problem. So let's find out a little bit more about it. I'm delighted to say I'm joined on the line now by Alessandro Tricamo. He's a partner in Oliver Wyman's Transportation and Services practice. He's also co-author of this report. He joins me on the phone. Alessandro, good morning. Let us start with the big picture. Just how big is the congestion challenge here in the Middle East and specifically, of course, the UAE?
Hi, good morning, Georgia. Hi, good morning, everyone. I think if you live in Dubai, you have experienced this problem daily in the last years. And the problem is only getting bigger. With the growing population, the expansion of the city, the development of new areas, more cars are on the road, and eventually, the congestion will get worse and worse. You rightfully mentioned the time of congestion and time lost is underestimated and likely much higher than the 35 hours in Dubai and 20 hours in Abu Dhabi. That mainly because it averages out the entire city, while we know that specific arteries and roads, both in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, are getting much worse condition than those.
Absolutely. Oh, that's interesting how you sort of, explained that number away because, all the people who I know who drive down from Sharjah and up to Sharjah every single day lose a huge amount of time. But if it's averaged out, that does make more sense. I mean, your report says that cities like Dubai and Riyadh in particular facing mounting pressure. What is driving that, other than the obvious answer, which is more cars?
Yes, as you said, ultimately the problem is more cars, but where these more cars are coming from? I think that Dubai, like Riyadh or Abu Dhabi and many other cities in the Middle East, are experiencing problems of their own success. The cities in this region are going at a very fast pace. People are moving here, and not to spend a short amount of time, but actually to live in the cities. That will create this incredible high and fast demographic expansion, which brings new urban development, but inevitably more cars. And more cars means more traffic, ultimately.
How can we deal with this? Is there a solution? Can you build a city in a way that can absorb this type of congestion better?
Congestion is a problem that every major cities in the world is experiencing, and how to approach it and minimize this concern is a common problem. I think that it's now proven that a good road network, as it is the one in Dubai or also in Abu Dhabi, is not enough anymore. More roads will bring more car and more traffic. Urban development needs to happen with transport in mind, with the idea that private individual cars cannot be the main solution for moving from point A to point B. Public transport needs to be integrated in every new development and connected to the broader network of the city. But also, I think that governments and city municipalities need to start looking at traffic as a cost. And this will mean that it needs to be disincentivized as much as possible with the policies and the tools that are available today.
Of course, I remember I lived in London when they introduced the congestion charge. It was deeply unpopular, but undoubtedly very effective. In Dubai, we don't have a congestion charge as such, but of course we have SALIC. You mentioned the use of SALIC in the report. The rules around SALIC have changed literally in the last 6 months, and now it does cost more. We have the variable charging. It does cost more in peak times. How effective has that been? And do you think it could be expanded further to have more of an influence on traffic flows?
Congestion management and broadly congestion charges are proven to be effective. Now, you mentioned London. London, from the introduction of, let's say, the congestion charges in specific area of the cities, was able to decrease the congestion and traffic in those specific areas by 30%, which is quite impressive. Other cities and not traditional cities that were not keen to introduce this type of solution, such as New York City, for example, are now moving into that direction. In Dubai, SALIC works in a similar way, although it's a very defined area of the cities that try to manage the congestion and traffic by introducing the cost of externalities of traffic, which is losing your time, higher pollution, higher risk of accident, and so on. The congestion management should actually be expanded. But again, as you mentioned, congestion charges are deeply unpopular which means that they should be applied carefully and only where a proper alternative solution to move is available, which exactly what happened in Salik, that pretty much mirror the metro network in Dubai.
Yeah, we see, of course, massive expansion of the metro at the moment. They are building it. They're building that lovely new blue line, but it is going to take another 3 years or 4 years before it's going to be ready. Alessandro, if it's okay, I'd love to keep you on the line. I've got a few more questions about your 4-pillar framework that you mention in your report that suggests potential solutions or preemptive solutions, so we say, for congestion. Okay, so we've discussed the sort of various different, one specific different way in which you can control traffic, which is, of course, with a congestion charge or a toll like Salik. But you've actually outlined a 4-pillar framework in your report. Can you sort of briefly walk us through those 4 pillars and how they would work in Dubai?
Yeah, absolutely. So as someone mentioned, that congestion charges are not the only solutions. The starting point is understanding how you want to approach the traffic and traffic congestion problem. Staggering working hours or school hours are policies that can be implemented, might require some time, some adjustment, but obviously help distributing the traffic along the day. But again, the purpose, the starting point is to understand what you want to do. Is it congestion charges the right solution? And if that is the right solution, how you want to apply it? Is toll road like Salik or its entire area of the cities that would require payment to navigate, which is the solution that generally apply in European cities like London, Milan, and most recently in North America in New York. That is your starting point. And these objectives needs to be studied together with policy intervention like staggering working hours and potential exception, because we also need to remember that transport needs to remain affordable for everyone. Once you define the objectives, I think the second part is the alignment across different stakeholders. Congestion charges, if applied, are never just a one single player solution. There is the alignment of several different government entities, but also the selection of which type of congestion charges technology you want to apply, free flow or not, and ultimately define the ticketing, the pricing, the fees, if it's fixed or, as it happened recently in Salik, might become dynamic depending on the hours of the day. Once that, let's say, more preparatory areas is solved, the second part is communication. Giorgia, you mentioned London previously. For example, London took almost 3 years to prepare for the launch of congestion charges, to provide the proper communication to the people that will be eventually affected by this solution, and help navigate let's say, the backlash that generally arrive with this type of decision that might become unpopular, but also make sure that an alternative is provided. So congestion charges alone without a proper investment in public transport, in the expansion of public transport system, metro, bus, or any other type of shared mobility system, generally don't work. Which means that planning of transport solution and of congestion management tools should go hand in hand to ensure that congestion management does shift people from the private car to a different solution. And then the monitoring and the reinvestment of the incomes that are coming from this solution generally is much more acceptable to people if the incomes coming from the fees of congestion charges are reinvested in social transport options, so making metros more affordable or expanding the metro in a specific cities. And the government of the city should proactively communicate those solutions to make sure that there is transparency and the money that citizens are spending because of transport are properly reinvested for the benefit of the same citizen.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big concern at the moment. Obviously, we have a lot of lower income residents who live here in Dubai, and I know that they are being impacted already by the SALIC increases. And indeed, one of the other ways in which the government here is seeking to control car use is by putting up the price of parking as well, which of course has gone up massively, not just in the centre of Dubai, but also in the suburbs where people were traditionally coming in to park and then maybe getting the metro further into town. I mean, what are the realities if cities don't get a handle on this? Because I know that one part of your report is looking at the economic impact of congestion. You know, what is the risk if governments don't act soon enough on this issue?
Look, I think that there is two level of risk, if you want. One is the more financial one, that, as you mentioned, being stuck in traffic and wasting time obviously reduce productivity. Indicators around Dubai says that we are around 35, 40 hours per year. I would argue that is probably much higher than that. And this is a week worth of work that you are spending stuck in traffic. But beside the monetary part, there is obviously more social side of the traffic problems. So the success, for example, of cities like Dubai, but I would argue of many other cities in the Middle East, was to attract people thanks to the extremely high quality of life that are able to provide. State-of-the-art infrastructure, security, job opportunities, and so on. Traffic congestion actually affects that quality of life, reduce the attractiveness of a city. And if you don't intervene soon enough, the balancing of deciding if you want to live in a city that you spend hundreds of hours stuck in traffic every year or somewhere else will start pending on the second one.
Really interesting stuff. And of course, that is the problem. One of the great things about living in Dubai was that it was, to many intents and purposes, a 20-minute city. In fact, I remember when we chose the school, which is my children's school, which is a good, used to be about a 12-minute drive away. My parents were like, isn't that a bit far away? I was like, no, it only takes 12 minutes to get there. That was before the pandemic and before the massive number of people moved into the country. And now it takes about 45 minutes and we regret not choosing a closer school, suffice to say. Alessandro, absolutely fascinating to speak to you. Thank you very much for your expertise and analysis on the programme this morning. Alessandro Tricamo, a partner in Oliver Wyman's Transportation and Service Practice. He's co-author of this big report on congestion in the Middle East. He's our expert. We've got lots of armchair urban planners getting in touch, though. Thank you very much indeed to this person who has just texted in, Michelle, saying, in order to improve traffic, why don't we have a bus lane so that the bus is actually faster than a private car? Just like in LA, there are lanes for cars that have more than 2 passengers. Her other suggestion is free school buses. And I have noticed a few announcements in the last couple of weeks from the RTA, which suggests that they're going to be pooling school buses. And I think that could potentially have a major impact as well. Turning our attention now to the film world, because films like this are captivating audiences around the globe.
It's breathtaking. When you see sand here, imagine water. If you dive in, you can't reach the bottom.
You dive in?
Yes, it's called swimming.
I don't believe you.
So that is Dune, which of course was filmed right here in the deserts of the UAE. And now the government wants more movies to be made here. And this week, the Dubai Films and Games Commission is partnering with the UK's National Film and Television School and also Prime Video to launch a new talent development programme aimed, of course, at fast-tracking the next generation of script writing and production talent in Dubai. Joining us now to tell us a bit more about it, I'm joined by Samar Al-Marzouki. He is Director of Film and Production at the Dubai Films and Games Commission. So thank you so much for joining us on the line. Tell us a little bit more about, what the gap in Dubai's creative industry that you're trying to address with this programme. Is there a bit of a gap?
Thank you, Giorgio, for having us. I think there's a lot to be done here. There's a gap between raw creative talent and being market ready and work on high-end TV projects. We have so many regional writers, producers who have great and amazing ideas, but they have limited access to development support or even global platforms and decision makers. So Series Lab Dubai focuses on these script series development with international standards.
Okay, so speaking of the international standards, you've partnered with the National Film and Television School and also Prime Video. Why was it important to have those partners?
So each one of these partners come with their set of expertise that do support us throughout. I mean, today with the National Film and Television School, they come with decades of experience in world-class creative training, and with a strong back record in developing writers and producers. While Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios, they give us the real-world commissioning and market insights, and that will, of course, helps understanding what global platforms look for today.
It's so important to produce local content for a local audience, because then, people get it. People understand what people want to see and want to watch. And, they're speaking to people of the same culture. And I know that the programme has actually started this week. Did they go into class literally this morning kind of thing?
Correct. So we have all these young talents. They started their schooling basically and classes, a very extensive program today for the rest of the week.
Okay, and how does this programme, this intensive course, support Dubai's ambitions to be one of these sort of really regional production hubs? Do you think this will be enough to give us a kickstart here?
Well, this 1 week should be more than enough, because it's intentionally very intensive and focused, which it's also designed to have a high impact intervention. Maybe we didn't mention earlier on that all the participants are not fresh to the industry. They're all mid-career screenwriters and producers. So this program works as a intervention program that supports them to go to the standard they're looking for. And this week we should be able to do that. And back to your question, this program do support the ambition of Dubai by investing in talent, not just infrastructure, and works together where we have the Dubai-based talent meeting the international partners and work together on global platforms. And by default supports the Dubai Film and Gaming Commission, our broader talent ecosystem that we are linking, as I said, skills, industry, and employment opportunities.
As somebody who works in the creative industries, it's really lovely to hear about that support, because so often, there's lots of talk about science and tech and business, and there's often lots of leadership programs for people who work in those industries. But it's really great to hear about the investment in culture. What does success look like for you? So once this cohort have finished the first program, do you have grand ambitions that, 4 television series are going to come out of this?
I believe this industry works on building the right foundations. And I think once we invest in the right foundations and support the right ecosystem, the best will come by itself. So we're looking, yes, we are positioning Dubai as a global entertainment player, major shows to come here. Nevertheless, major shows to be homegrown here as well and travel around the world. We'll talk about long-term success as much as possible beyond the short-term one. These projects that are going to be discussed this week to move into further development, which takes time, of course, securing more and more partners to support in the commissioning side of things, and again, ongoing further collaborations with our global partners and platforms.
It's very exciting indeed. We will be keeping a very close eye on the progress of the Dubai Films and Games Commission. Sama Al-Marzouki, thank you very much indeed for your time. Sama is the Director of Film and Production there. Really, really interesting interview, and fantastic, like I said, to hear of investment in the creative industries. I don't know if you're a regular listener to The Agenda, but if you are, you'll know we do news, analysis and comment. And every now and then, we love a good science story. especially if it involves animals. And traditionally, only the cleverest of animals have been thought to be able to use tools. So, you've got the obvious primates, there are some birds, and then there's a few other mammals like elephants, sea otters. Apparently they're very good at sort of breaking shells to get things out of them to eat. Cows were never included in that number until now, because an Austrian cow named Veronica has been spotted regularly using tools to scratch her back. And she doesn't use just any tool. She's not just rubbing her bottom on a fence. Depending on the itch and the location, she will choose a different utensil. Word of her behaviour eventually reached animal intelligence specialists in Vienna, one of whom joins me now. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Antonio Jose Osuna Mascaro. He works at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna, and he joins me on the line. Dr. Antonio, thank you for your time this morning. Tell me, how did you first hear about Veronica? And the fact that she has a name is one of the best things about this story.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm really glad to be here. The fact that Veronica has a name is an important thing here. Alice Ausberg, head of the Goffin Lab, the lab in which I'm doing my research, she published a book last year, and she's receiving videos from so many people talking to her about animal tool use. But in most of these cases, what we see in those videos is nothing related to tool use, of course. It's cats opening doors or using an Amazon box as shelter, things like this. So not tool use at all. But she received a video from a reader of her book showing a cow using tools. And we are very strict about what we consider tool use. We only consider tool use when a subject is able to extend its own body in a way that is gaining a function. So we talk about the body plus object system, and only these are the real cases of tool use that we consider. So when we saw that video, we ran immediately into the car, and we drove for 5 hours from Vienna to the south of Austria, to Carinthia, to meet Veronica.
And does she have a strong personality?
Yes, he has. The first surprise that finding the beautiful place where Veronica is living, it looks like the sound of music, this kind of landscape that somebody would expect from a cow living in Austria. And also her owner, Vidgar Vigele, is one of the last traditional bakers and millers of the country. And such a nice person, really motivated with nature conservation.
Oh, wow.
And the fact that Veronica is not a regular cow. She's a pet. So she has been living, with toys and objects during her long whole life, because she's 13 years old. And she's really special. We were expecting to be able to see Veronica using tools after hours, perhaps days. But right in front of us, Vidgar took a stick, offered it to Veronica. Veronica extended her long tongue, wrapped it around the stick. She took it to her mouth, and she started scratching herself right in front of us. And it's important to say that Veronica has been using tools for 9 years, and she invented the use of tools. She innovated this behavior by herself when she started using, fallen branches from trees to scratch herself in a very rudimentary way. And it has been during these 9 years of expertise of using different tools and, gaining the wonderful technique that we have been able to report in our study.
Okay, so why is seeing animals using a tool such a big deal? What does it tell us about them that is so important?
Well, it's really important. There was a time in which we were defined ourselves, humans, as the tool use species, right? And it was Jane Goodall who came to show us that chimpanzees were also using tools to fish termites. So tool use is not an indicative of intelligence per se, but can be used to study intelligence because it depends on how you use tools. There are animals out there. Tool use is rare in nature, it's quite diverse, but it's rare. But there are animals out there that use tools in very rigid and innate ways, like wasps, for example. Some wasps are able to use little stones, pebbles, as hammers. But they do this in a way that they don't need to learn about how to do it. They just know how to do it. But there are other species that need to learn how to use tools, or they need to innovate, to invent how to use tools. Among those species, we find chimpanzees, we find dolphins, we find the Goffin's cockatoos, or the corvids that some people study. We study Goffin's cockatoos. And now we know that this cow belongs to this group. Of course, we are also part of that group. So tool use is really important depending on how you use tools. And here the big surprise was not only finding out that Veronica was, filling our expectations. She was really using tools in a flexible way and with a goal, but that she was using a multi-purpose tool. And this is extremely rare in nature.
So I understand that. So, for example, depending on whether she's got a big itch or a little itch, then she'll use a softer or a harder tool. And depending on which bits of her body, whether it's a more sensitive part of her body, she'll use a softer tool so as to not hurt herself. I mean, it is remarkable. Does it mean that we now need to rethink how we care for cows, how we farm them, how we keep them?
Yes, of course. Science works in this way, right? Science works developing, if you want to say it this way, a model of the world, a representation of the world that is based on our hypotheses and theories. And we have to reshape this model of the world in a constant way. So what Veronica represents is a big change in our model of the world on this branch of the model that is representing cattle. It's important to say that we don't think that Veronica is the Einstein among cows. We think that Veronica is special because her conditions are special. When Alice sent me this first video of Veronica using an old rake to scratch herself, the first thing that I did was to run to the internet and check out if there were other videos of cows or bulls using tools in the same way. And of course, there were no other scientific reports of this nature. But there were other videos of cows and bulls using tools in a very similar way to those first descriptions of Veronica using fallen branches from trees. And very interestingly, in some of those videos, what I was watching was Brahman bulls. And Brahman bulls are Bos indicus, coming from a domestication event that happened in Asia 8,000 years ago, while Veronica is a Bos taurus, coming from another domestication event that happened in Europe 10,000 years ago. Both lineages have been separated for 500,000 years. So this is telling us that this capability, this potential capability, was probably already present in the aurochs, those bulls that we were hunting and drawing on the walls of caves thousands and thousands of years ago. So this is telling us that Veronica's behavior, what we are reporting, is not just something superficial, not just the result of the weird conditions in which some people are keeping their animals nowadays, for the first time, in thousands of years, in these weird pet conditions. This is something that is really deep within the nature of these animals. And it's only when we give them the opportunities to express themselves, to learn by playing, to learn by interacting with their environment, when they can really express those capabilities that they always had.
Wow. I mean, that is absolutely fascinating, because my next question was going to be, is it just because she's a pet? And you've given me the answer to that one already. Absolutely fascinating. For someone who grew up on a dairy farm in Dorset, and I have to admit, up until this point, hasn't thought a great deal of cows' intelligence, you are certainly reframing things for me. Dr. Antonio Jose Ozana Mascaro, thank you so much for joining us on the line today. That was an absolutely fascinating interview. Dr. Antonio is an animal cognition researcher Researcher at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you on this topic, so please do share your thoughts. Find us on social media at DMI1038 FM, or you can find me at georgia.tolley. Make sure you tag us with your views.